Hi guys, my name is Barodante, and today let's see if I can still paint. So I recently got this new tablet after making a review video of this Huion drawing display. You can check it out right here. And I thought, what the hell? This channel is not called Borrow 3D, it's called Borrow CG, which should include everything. So I had this idea that I should give it a try at making like one monthly video where I would just sit down and paint. I don't think these videos would be in any way deviating from my main goal of making my video game, because that's like the only thing I can think about right now. When I'm not just being stupid and distracted and actually sit down to work, all I can think about is the story of the game and how I can put something into it, or maybe even change something completely. But in any case, it's always like the work on the game. And today I wanted to paint sort of like a key shot for the horror game I'm working on. So I have my iPad right here and I'm looking up some Deep Forest references, as well as maybe I'll be looking at some other ones. But the whole point is that I started the project of the game feeling like I don't really need any concept art, because like I'm the only person making it. I know what I need to make, and generally my impression about concept art is that it's necessary to make a group of people, like a team of people, to follow one concept. But like if you're working alone, like I could spend a bunch of episodes, working on concept art for all the aspects of the game, and then I would still like barely use it, because at that point I didn't know exactly what I wanted to show in the game, what I could show in the game, because I didn't know exactly all the limits of Unreal Engine and everything. I didn't think through all the monsters at that point, even though I made like concept art and everything. Until I actually finished them, it wasn't 100% clear what's gonna happen with them. But in general, right now, as I went through a bunch of different stages of the game, but like mostly sort of learning on how to make it, I didn't really make the game at all yet, if you really think about it. But here's the thing, like if you actually start doing it, like really fleshing out everything, it can be done very fast. The only problem is it can't be just quickly flashed out. You have to plan so much. Just so much planning has to happen all the time. And so I realized maybe this whole concepting part is actually what I really need right now, because I got really like occupied by all the technical parts of it. And it's also taking so much time. It's easy to sort of drift away from the actual essence of what really made my spark going with what the game should be about. I don't really feel like the spark is gone at all. If anything, I keep feeling like I'm closer and closer to actually start working on the real style of the game and everything, because I'm about to start animating everything and putting scenes together. That's where I feel most inspiring things are about to happen now. But the thing with for instance, environment development, as well as just the style of the characters, when I'll be acting wearing a motion capture suit, when I'll be putting complex heavy levels together in Unreal Engine, all of these things are like these giant separate professions that I do on my own. They take a lot of separate attention. Like when you're acting as a monster, you need to just think as a monster. But I feel like I'd be missing having some kind of key concept in my head at any point, like no matter which stage of the work I do. Like I do sort of impersonate a lot of team members working on the project at the same time, or not at the same time, at different times. And because of that, like all these different sort of personalities, they all need to know the common goal they're working towards. So I still need that concept art to guide this whole team in my head in one direction. So maybe it makes a whole lot of sense to make all these concepts. So that's probably what we're gonna be doing. Anyway, I'm rambling a lot. I'll probably have to edit down this monologue of mine because I have no idea what I'm doing. As usual, when I try to paint and talk, that's never a good idea. But yeah, the key shot I'm going for right now, I want to see John the way he would show up in the game in the actual action scene when he is aiming and shooting at one of the neonates. That's probably what we're going for here. And why I think this is a good idea to introduce this kind of concepting right now, even though we already have the mechanics going on, right? And I have main monster mechanics sort of present in the game as well. Well, thing is, all of that is just the core of it is there, but then I need to really dial in all the numbers, all the distances, all the timings and angles and lightings and whatever it would be, to make sure it actually follows a style. Like, the actual difference between all kinds of games is in those micro decisions, because in bigger decisions they all follow the same mechanics anyway. All games are the same on like a bigger scale. It's all about what you decide on in smaller artistic scale, and that just means a whole bunch of details following the same idea. And yeah, in this concept, I would really like to first of all make sure I shake off some rust from my painting brain, because I haven't been using it for a while, and I know usually if I take big breaks between paintings, I need like a day or two to really, you know, get into it, to start thinking with colors, spots, and how these spots actually represent real geometry that I now have to think about, because in 3D you don't have to think about foreshortening and, you know, proper geometry of things in general, but now I have to, and putting all of that together while also thinking on composition and the idea in general, all of that is the kind of practice you need a certain time to get into. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I won't finish this episode today, maybe I'll restart it altogether because it will be a waste of time with no good result, but let's just see where it goes. And I wanted this to be a chill, vibey search, not a trying to perform, some kind of good old times process. And most importantly, I want to focus in this concept on something that's really hard to show in the actual 3D graphics by just pushing assets and bones around. I want to see the gesture, like the essence of it. I want to put monsters in poses that are like gonna be the most expressive, so I would be able to thrive towards those, to show something very interesting. Maybe I'll find some kind of iconic look to just the mechanics of the game. That's what I want to see. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, am I just illustrating something that I literally did in the engine? That's not gonna be useful at all. So yeah, it needs to be almost abstract, almost like a gesture painting. I also was having this thought when I was working, I am still not done with the model of John's outfit, is that his back is like very empty, you know? In most games that are like third-person games, usually the back of the character is made a little bit more interesting, you know? Because you're gonna be staring at it the whole gameplay, so maybe it should have like extra something on it. So yeah, I was thinking about it, but I'm not sure. It's not like, I don't want him to actually carry around a backpack all the time, because he's not supposed to be prepared for this journey. And like, if you ask me, I almost never leave the house without a backpack, unless I just walk my dog, then I don't take the backpack, which is most of my trip out of the house at this point. But yeah, usually I am with a backpack, but I don't think that's like a standard situation for everybody to carry a backpack if they're just supposed to be, you know, hanging out around town. Also trying to remember a few of the very advanced commands in Torbox right here. Decided to give it another go, mostly when painting, because Torbox recently emailed me to send me the latest like non-prototype version of Torbox Elite. I did a review of Torbox Elite back when it was almost out, but it was with a prototype. And I asked for the white color just to shake it up a little bit. So yeah, decided why not give it a try. After all, this final version is pretty polished. Came with a nice little box like this. And yeah, I don't remember exactly how the prototype worked, but this one has very nice haptics. I don't know if it was the same back then, because I don't have the prototype with me. But another really good thing is that it works really well with Bluetooth right now. I don't remember if it worked well at all with Bluetooth before. This one, just no problem. You can plug it in and then it stops using the battery, and you can just use a Type-C cable if you have it hanging around. But at any point you unplug it and you know, it just keeps working. There's like 3-second delay and it starts working on its own. So yeah, about the forest. As I keep looking at references, I keep realizing that I forgot for a second with all that procedural content generation in Unreal Engine that lets you fill up a huge area of the level with like predefined rules and throw all the trees and bushes and stones and sticks and everything around with little to no effort, and being able to rebuild it completely with just few different commands and all. It's a really powerful tool, but one thing you shouldn't forget is that you still need to build so much more custom things on top of these basic, you know, paths and spots that I prepared in there. They're all flat and simple. The forest can go super complex. Like, I know you guys don't see much in here, but in here is like a little bit of a path made with some like man-made planks of wood. Then they break down and have a little, almost a bridge over like a barely present river in there. We don't even see the water, but it's kind of there. And then we climb up over some exposed roots of the trees. Then it's a little bit of a bold spot with bushes, then a giant rock or a fallen giant tree trunk. All of that builds up and gets covered in moss. It's like a complete super complex, multi-level, multi-layer environment that can be incredibly interesting and complex. So yeah, this is a very interesting process for myself, like this meta process, like seeing how my brain actually starts thinking a little bit more than, you know, with just basic stuff like forest, ground at the bottom, leaves in the middle, sky at the top. Well, how about we go a lot more complicated than that, because things don't just fall into such simple situations, especially if it's up to you. Like, there's nothing in this whole concept that prohibits things from being as interesting as possible. Then not making them interesting is a huge mistake. And I'm making constant mistakes about everything right now because of how basic everything is. Of course, I don't think I should overwork myself and trying to make everything as complex and interesting as possible, because I'm but one man. I need to get this thing done, and it's an incredibly hard endeavor as it is. And just having cool ideas, you can't have a lot of those frequently. It's just not a thing. That's something actual designers, like high-grade, big business designers, you know, not the ones that just know how to use Photoshop, but the designers. The ones that work with giant companies that come up with huge strategies and the real brands and just the way a company could present themselves and all of that. Those things require big, serious, like successful ideas, getting somewhere where no one else went yet, like on a much bigger scale than just coming up with a pretty picture for something. And there's a serious like subject of how many good ideas one professional can come up with within a month. And usually the number is like maybe 3 ideas in a month, like actually good ideas. The rest will be like this autopilot where you just like, well, you know, you're a professional, you have certain skills, you came up with certain rules to follow that usually don't fail you, so you will never really drop the ball. But if it really takes coming up with something incredibly special, you can't make your whole job rely on that. It's just not gonna work. You either need a giant team of people to fill in the gaps of everyone's, you know, lack of ideas. So like 20 people will have not 3 good ideas in a month, but 60. That's how. Okay, I keep throwing these green bits on trees randomly. I never see that in the references. Well, maybe a little bit. It's not like a massive thing. Also, incredibly thick trees I'm making. Nothing wrong with that, but maybe I'll keep this idea of like much thicker trees for later in the game where we're a bit deeper into the woods. Or maybe that we are exactly in that area. Let me look up more stuff. I'm really loving this reference right here due to its very fun looking path here. But what about like thicker trees and all? Okay, yeah, the funny thing, like the older the trees are, the less obligated they are to like actually just being perfectly healthy and sticking upwards. A lot of the times it's just a broken thing, you know, a giant old tree. If it gets broken and gets overgrown with a bunch of moss, it's just gonna stick around in there for a very long time, shaping the whole landscape with itself. Yeah, the older the woods, the more broken trees are around. And that's like the most fun thing. It's so much fun when it's not just empty surface, you know? Also, I like this idea, like as I said in that previous reference, there was like kind of a bridge, kind of a path, a man-made path. I think I need to introduce more kind of a man-made things, but they should be like tastefully, not constantly present. So it would be like, why is this man-made thing suddenly in here in this almost like infinite forests? What's going on? Like who did this? Is there literally a presence around now? That's the kind of feeling you really like in Silent Hill when you walk around something and suddenly there's like, you know, a special kind of thing. Someone was here recently. What is that? What does it mean? It looks like not just a monster that put it here, but like someone who's a human who can think and use tools and write notes. Although I will do my best to avoid any notes in my game, I really don't like it. I don't hear a lot from people that they would be upset with the fact that there are notes in games. Usually people are a lot more upset about all kinds of other stuff that will probably be present in my game, I don't know. But the thing about notes, I really don't like notes in games because a note is a story that could be in the game. That's what it is. It's not really in the game. You walk around, you read the note. What's the point? First of all, how many notes have you found outdoors as you walk around? You know, it makes no sense. It's like this gamey thing. And like, what is the purpose of it? Why do we break the realistic feeling of the game process of like, you know, being really outside with the like real things going on? So it would break us out of this experience as little as possible because there's still gonna be plenty of things that will break the immersion. We need to minimize it. So what is the purpose of these notes? The purpose is to introduce a story into the game without having to do anything. It's like, it's a book with a wrapper of like a walking simulator. I'm talking about other indie games, of course, since this is also going to be an indie game. But that's why I'm so obsessed with the idea of preparing an animation-ready character and a story that will include a lot of like reactions of the main character and certain things actually happening in the game. Because I don't like when the story is just written down. Like, if you wanted to write a story and that's it, you should have released a book. You know, a game should show what's actually going on. That's why Naughty Dog is such an awesome developer, among many other things, because their team includes so many insane professionals on so many different levels. But I feel like one important concept that's very captivating about like The Last of Us, for instance, is that you live the story. Everything actually happens. Like, I'm not saying there's no notes in The Last of Us. There are a few, I remember. I didn't even play the game, I watched the hell out of it on YouTube. And now it was released on PC, and like, what's the point? I know this game better than if I would play it myself, probably now. Okay, I feel like too many trees fall to the left. Another problem with manual painting, you know, you keep making these weird mistakes, and then it's like, you know, it's painted with other brush strokes around. It's hard to fix it. Are you going to leave it like that? Anyway, let's add the monster. I hate when I do this, when I like keep painting and painting, adding details, and then like, well, let's add another very important part of the picture now. You should work on everything at the same time. You shouldn't just... Yeah, the color gamut. Like, I did create neonates. Like, here's one in kind of a forest, and I created the models kind of in isolation. I didn't see them actually standing in the forest, and that's like the part that requires concept art, because you know which colors look best in the forest environment and in different parts of it. I do want them to sort of stand out a little bit. It also feels like it would be great to control certain compositions of clouds in combination with certain locations. I wonder if I'll be able to like do it. It's not like I really have clouds in the forest at the moment at all. I kind of went with, you know, was just plain fog all over it. And there's kind of like a message and a point of it in the actual story aspect of it, because when John gets trapped in this special situation, when suddenly a simple city park turns into this deep woods area, the whole thing kind of becomes frozen in time. He gets stuck in the forest and keeps wandering around it. Fast or slow, it doesn't matter. He just doesn't progress into anything. It feels like it's infinite. But also, he doesn't like really get tired or hungry or thirsty or anything. Also, it doesn't just become dark regularly, although sometimes it might get dark. I did have that in the script, but it's like only when he reaches a certain place. So I want to put that into the story as well, that normally when he was just stuck for a while, the time did not progress. Something else needs to start happening for the time to move forward. And so overall, there's like no wind, no changes in weather. It's just this constant, just static, kind of foggy, overcast weather, and like nothing is happening, and he's just trapped. That's what I want to show. At least that's how the story starts, when like the experience of getting trapped in this world starts with that before he actually gets to enter, which is this important thing. Last time I worked in Unreal Engine on the channel, I was working on that puzzle with the huge gate. So the moment we go through the gate, that's where things start, actually. And it will be, you know, supported by a very ominous music and everything. Like, it will feel like everything started moving. It started, like, became activated. I gotta say, like, when the software you're working with is simple enough, like for instance Photoshop, like you're just painting in here, there's quite a limited amount of actions you need to perform. Mostly it's just about you painting, stuff like that. And I mean, I can like duplicate layers, I can start transformation, like it's all in here. I mapped it all and I still remember it. I'm using my old preset. It's all still in my head. It's really fun to use Torbox for all these things. But like, yeah, with simpler programs, it's definitely like, you could still use it a lot. And what I like about the setup in this case, like I said that I usually always prefer using a keyboard. It's still true, but really if you do just paint, it's not a lot of actions you need most of the time. But sometimes you would need to like type or like do all kinds of like completely new command, whatever it would be. Can't even think of a thing right now, but sometimes you just need the whole keyboard and press enter, you know, everything. Then my preferred way of using the keyboard, which is like this, becomes a lot more complicated, because to actually type text and press enter and use all kinds of stuff, I'll still need to drag it all out somehow and type on it here. And if you are using like some kind of you know, quick shortcut device like Torbox or something, what you can do is you can have this keyboard separately right here, available all together. It's just not quite exactly convenient to hold the hand in here all the time, to use Control-Z and everything. But if you don't have to do that, it's actually pretty convenient to have it here, exposed completely, so you would be able to quickly type on it. So it kind of frees up the keyboard to be positioned somewhere where you can access the whole thing if you really need like all the letters on it and everything. So anyway, I don't know what this episode is gonna turn into, but I do know I just wanna put on my headphones and paint around a little bit and see where this gets me. So see you guys soon. Alright, I guess this is it. Funny how I thought I would see something new about the way the characters should be, but I think I already knew all of this. What really improved in my vision is the vision of the forest, actually. And now I'm more than ever inspired to actually build the forest, first of all, without nanite, and secondly, with my own assets, to actually have my own forest and not just hyper-realistic, ultra-detailed, downloaded assets of forest thrown around everywhere. That just doesn't feel very like there's content to it. You know, that's something that really supports this feeling I got recently. And yeah, interesting how maybe it's a good idea to build the cloud composition together with the forest to get better like lighting and contrast distribution in any specific scene, because I feel like that's how you really get to that like beautiful look, to really get things fleshed out, really. So yeah, we'll see about that. Hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know when the next episode will be, next month or maybe even earlier. We'll see how it goes. But as I was painting this, I was thinking about like, it would be interesting to really show what the manifestation would look like. The daddy long arms, the giant arm growing out of the ground, what it would actually look like. For instance, in the cutscene where it appears, to really put things together, what kind of place should it really be? So maybe we'll do a concept like that eventually. I feel like this is like, first of all, very therapeutic in a way. Like, it's nice to, you know, drop all these complex 3D things and just paint around a little bit. And also actually pretty useful to just set things a little bit more into reality of how I really want to see everything, what the final spot of the game would really look like, you know? This is very interesting, and I feel like it's very important to make yourself look at something like this and think it through every once in a while as you're working on such a big project. So yeah, I think we'll have this kind of series going on now. I hope many of you guys will be happy about that, since you were really missing some painting content on the channel. So here's something. Anyway, this is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! Oh boy, it looks so much fun. And like the main reason why it looks fun is just the forest. It's the place and the lighting. The lighting is a big deal. But in a natural environment, you can't have an interesting high contrast lighting without manipulating the environment to block lights from one areas and introducing it from others.